Think of the perfect holiday brochure photograph.
Oh, right.
You know, the exact visual language tourism agencies use to sell us on paradise?
Yeah, the golden sand, the crystal clear blue water.
Exactly. Beautiful, relaxed people effortlessly soaking up the sun.
Just, the ultimate escape.
Right. Now, I want you to keep looking at that mental image and mentally place a garish, neon pink, overinflated plastic flamingo right in the middle of it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, completely blocking the horizon.
The illusion immediately starts to shatter, right? The whole pastoral dream just cracks.
It totally does. It becomes something else entirely.
And if you look closer at those supposedly relaxed people on the sand, you realize they aren't relaxed at all.
Not even a little bit.
No. They are packed shoulder to shoulder on this tiny, shrinking strip of beach, looking incredibly anxious, like they're waiting in some inevitable never-ending line.
Yeah, the tension is just palpable.
And right next to them, someone is holding a bright, synthetic, cherry-red ice cream that is rapidly melting, dripping violently onto a cheap plastic sunbed.
Ugh. Yes, that sticky, uncomfortable feeling.
It goes from a pristine getaway to a claustrophobic nightmare in a matter of seconds. But here is the truly disturbing part.
What's that?
That specific feeling of claustrophobia, that sudden rush of absurdity, feels entirely familiar to you. You know that exact feeling.
Oh, absolutely. Because it is a reality we all actively participate in, that whether we care to admit it or not. We buy into the brochure, but we physically inhabit the claustrophobia.
That creeping, uncomfortable familiarity is exactly what we're unpacking today. We're taking a deep dive into a fascinating stack of sources from SanalSergi.com.
Really great materials in this one.
Yeah, an incredibly detailed visual analysis and an audio transcript. They all explore the universe of the legendary British photographer Martin Parr.
Right.
Our mission today is to figure out how Parr uses his camera to expose the absurdities of our modern consumer culture. Because looking at a Martin Parr photograph feels less like looking at art and more like someone is pulling back the curtain on a giant societal lie that we've all just agreed to uphold.
Yeah, that's exactly it. He doesn't invent the absurdity of modern life. I mean, he just refuses to let us look away from it. He forces us to stare right at the synthetic seams of the world we've built.
But to truly understand what Parr is showing us, we really have to establish how he actually sees the world, because the sources point out that he wasn't always this visual extremist.
No, not at all.
Like if you look at his early work from the 1970s, there's a project called The Nonconformists. It is almost unrecognizable from the abrasive style he's famous for today.
It is a completely different photographic language. I mean, those early images of rural England are quiet, traditional, black and white documentary photographs.
They feel very safe, right? Almost nostalgic.
Yeah, exactly. He was exploring local habits and community rituals with this sense of respectful distance. He was building his observational discipline, basically learning how to watch people exist within their cultural systems rather than just treating them as isolated subjects.
But then the true turning point, the moment Martin Parr became the cultural provocateur we know today, happens in the 1980s.
It's a big shift.
He completely abandons that safe black and white distance. And the only analogy I can think of for his stylistic shift is taking the saturation slider on a photo editing app and just violently cranking it to the right until the app literally breaks.
That is the perfect way to describe it.
The colors become so loud they almost hurt your eyes.
Yeah.
And he starts firing off this harsh, blinding camera flash in the middle of a bright, sunny day, making people's skin look like cheap, shiny plastic.
Yeah.
And I have to ask why. Why make things so deliberately ugly?
Well, it is a jarring aesthetic choice, but it's really important to understand that this isn't just a quirky artistic signature. This aesthetic is a deliberate weapon.
A weapon.
Yeah. Traditional photography, especially in the documentary realm, often tries to mimic or elevate nature. It searches for atmospheric light, deep shadows, and a sense of mood to, capture a beautiful moment.
Right, the romantic ideal of photography.
Exactly. And Parr actively fights against that impulse. By using those hyper-intense synthetic colors and that brutal artificial flash, he is flattening the entire image.
He strips away all the romantic shadows and the depth.
Precisely. He's deliberately borrowing the visual language of advertising. He is taking the exact visual tools used on supermarket billboards and glossy magazines to sell us products, and he is using them to expose the illusion of the very lifestyle we're buying into.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the flash leaves reality totally naked. It prevents the viewer from romanticizing the scene at all. He's essentially saying, look, this is the plastic world you've happily constructed. Now look at it under unforgiving fluorescent lighting.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
He is using the language of consumerism to critique consumerism
Exactly.
and to really feel the discomfort of that flash. We have to spend some time in his pivotal mid-1980s series, The Last Resort.
Oh, yeah, The Last Resort.
This is a project set in New Brighton on these bleak concrete beaches in England.
This is the series that changed everything, really, both for Parr's career and for documentary photography as a whole. It was a seismic shift in how leisure was documented.
The sources outline a few specific images from this project, and I want to walk through the sensory details of them because they are just seared into my brain.
Let's do it.
Let's look at the scene with the family on the concrete bench. Picture a family trying to enjoy a day out. They are eating these greasy neon yellow chips, and there's bright red sauce staining their clothes. It's a messy, visceral scene of consumption.
It really is.
But the center of the frame, the object your eye is violently pulled toward, isn't the family at all. It's a massive, overflowing trash can, just spewing plastic waste and wrappers right in front of them.
And the composition there is deeply unsettling. When this was first exhibited, many early critics completely misread it.
Really? What do they think?
Well, they assumed Parr was punching down, that he was mocking the working class or offering this cruel critique of poverty and bad manners, but that misses the point entirely. This is a profound critique of habit.
Because the trash can isn't just in the background. It is the absolute focal point of the image.
Exactly. In Parr's visual world, that overflowing garbage bin is the actual monument of the modern vacation.
The monument. Wow.
Yeah, the family and the trash are existing on the exact same plane of importance. It exposes the underlying ritual of modern leisure, which is just you consume, you discard, and you repeat.
That cycle is the entirety of the vacation.
Exactly. The consumption and the waste are completely inseparable from the idea of relaxing.
Right. Like, you don't go to the beach to connect with the majesty of the ocean anymore. You go to the beach to buy chips and throw the wrapper in a bin.
Exactly that.
Which means that overflowing trash can shows what we leave behind.
Hmm.
But Parr is equally obsessed with the absurd environments we trap ourselves in while generating that waste.
Oh, definitely.
The second image the sources highlight from The Last Resort might be the most claustrophobic photograph I have ever seen.
You're talking about the excavator image.
Yes. There is a woman lying on the concrete in a swimsuit. Her eyes are closed, her head is tilted back, and she is desperately trying to look like she is peacefully sunbathing.
Right.
But sitting literally half a meter from her head is the massive metal track of a yellow industrial excavator.
The juxtaposition is physically uncomfortable. You look at her and you can just feel the tension in her forced performance of relaxing.
She is determined to have her holiday, even if she has to have it in an active construction zone. There is no soft sand, no gentle breeze. It's just industrial machinery and hard gray concrete.
Yeah.
It's like an industrial assembly line where relaxation is manufactured, stamped, and shipped out. You show up, you lay on the concrete, you endure the noise, and you tell yourself you are having a getaway.
Which forces us to ask what a getaway even means anymore, you know? Parr is showing us that the modern escape is entirely illusory. We have completely severed our connection to the natural world, yet we still robotically go through the physical motions of a natural retreat.
And again, the flash he uses is crucial here. Right?
Absolutely. It makes the woman's skin look just as synthetic and hard as the yellow paint on the excavator. They are both just objects occupying space in this harsh, artificial landscape.
That performative aspect of leisure, like forcing yourself to enjoy the concrete, really hits a breaking point when you look at the human interactions in these spaces.
Yeah, it gets really intense.
The final image from this series features an ice cream parlor. The colors of those sickly sweet pastel plastic tones. There's a chaotic, messy queue of kids pressing up against the counter, eager to buy their treats.
Right?
But the detail that stops you dead in your tracks is the ice cream seller himself. He isn't looking down at the kids. He isn't scooping ice cream. He is staring dead-eyed straight down the barrel of Martin Parr's camera lens.
And by extension, he is staring straight at you, the viewer.
It fundamentally changes the dynamic of looking at art.
It really does, because, I mean, in traditional documentary photography, there is an unwritten rule: the photographer acts as a fly on the wall, and the subjects pretend the camera isn't there.
So the viewer gets to be a voyeur. You get to stand in a quiet, air-conditioned art gallery and peer into someone else's messy world without any risk of being seen yourself.
Exactly, which keeps you perfectly safe. But when that seller locks eyes with the lens, he shatters that safety glass. He breaks the fourth wall of documentary photography.
Huh.
You are instantly implicated in the very system being photographed.
He's looking at you and saying, I see you. You are part of this transaction.
Yeah.
And when you look at that queue of children through the lens of that piercing, exhausted stare, you realize what Parr is saying about our precious free time. It isn't free at all. It is highly structured, standardized, waiting in lines to hand over money.
We are paying for the privilege of standing in a queue.
Now, if the last resort showed us the claustrophobia of local British leisure, Parr eventually realized that this suffocating choreography wasn't confined to the UK shores.
No, it was everywhere.
In the 1990s, he takes this exact same hypersaturated critical eye and turns it on the entire planet with his massive global projects, specifically Small World and Common Sense.
This transition is fascinating because Parr moves from documenting localized habits to mapping a truly global choreography of human behavior.
Global choreography is the perfect phrase for it. Let's look at how he dissects tourism in Small World.
Okay.
The sources highlight a wide shot taken at the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It's a chaotic, swarming crowd of tourists, and every single one of them is bending over, hands thrust out in the air, trying to do that exact same forced perspective pose where it looks like they are holding up the tower.
It's so recognizable.
Honestly, the only way I can describe these tourists is by comparing them to NPCs, non-playable characters in a video game.
Oh, that's such a good comparison.
Right. Like when a game glitches and a dozen background characters are all stuck repeating the exact same programmed animation loop, that is exactly what this photograph looks like. They don't look like individuals. They look programmed.
The NPC analogy captures it perfectly. Parr is stripping away the illusion of individual discovery. I mean, we deeply want to believe that when we travel, we are explorers. We want to believe we are having a unique, deeply personal encounter with history or culture.
But we aren't.
No. Parr zooms out and shows us that modern tourism is just a collective mechanical routine.
We're just following a script that was handed to us. And I have to admit, I caught myself doing this exact thing at a museum recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I walked up to a famous painting, took a photo of it with my phone, and walked away without actually looking at the painting with my own eyes. I just needed the digital proof that I was there.
And that is exactly what Parr is critiquing. The photograph the tourists are taking, one of them holding up the Leaning Tower, isn't meant to trigger a deep emotional memory of the experience.
No.
The photo is just a receipt. It is proof of purchase. It proves you traveled to the location, spent the money, and successfully performed the globally mandated ritual.
A receipt for an experience you didn't even really have because you were too busy orchestrating the proof of it.
Exactly.
If Small World maps out how we physically move through these spaces, his later project, Common Sense, zeroes in on the visceral textures of what we are consuming. And the visuals here are almost violently aggressive.
Yeah, Common Sense is arguably his most intense body of work. The camera moves in uncomfortably close.
We're talking extreme close-ups, with a macro lens practically touching the subject. One image is just a tight frame of fingers gripping a violently neon pink donut.
Right.
Another is a close-up of raw, glistening meat sitting on a cheap, flimsy plastic plate. You can almost feel the sticky sugar in the slick grease.
It's extremely visceral.
But the most shocking thematic detail about the Common Sense series is how he frames the human body. He violently crops the images so that human faces are completely cut out of the pictures. You see mouths chewing, hands grabbing, torsos squeezed into bright clothing, but you never see eyes. No faces.
This is where Parr pushes consumer culture directly into the realm of the grotesque.
Yeah.
By deliberately decapitating his subjects within the frame, he is making a profound and unsettling statement about modern identity.
Because if you take away the face, where does the humanity go?
Yeah. It vanishes entirely. Historically, in art and photography, the face, specifically the eyes, is where we locate the soul. It's where we find individuality and emotional expression.
Right.
And Parr just removes that locus of humanity. He is telling us that in a hyper-consumerist society, your identity is no longer found in your expression or your thoughts. You are literally just the sum of what you hold, what you buy, and what you eat.
The objects have completely swallowed the humans. The neon pink donut has more personality, more vibrant presence in the frame than the anonymous fingers holding it.
Absolutely. And because of that harsh flash illuminating the cheap plastic plates and the glistening food, the viewer is forced to confront these objects not as background props, but as the main characters of our lives.
Wow.
We are just the fleshy vehicles moving the products around. It's an incredibly aggressive way of showing us how our possessions and our consumption habits completely dominate us.
Having this harsh, unromantic, frankly grotesque mirror held up to society, well, people generally do not like that.
No, they don't.
They don't want to see themselves as fleshy vehicles for neon donuts. And the art world definitely resisted it at first. The sources dive into a massive controversy that erupted when Martin Parr applied to join Magnum Photos.
Oh, the Magnum controversy is a legendary ideological clash in the history of photography.
To really understand why this was such a scandal, we have to look at what Magnum Photos represented. It was basically the holy fortress of humanist photography.
It really was.
It was founded by pioneers like Henri Cartier-Bresson and photographers who believed in the decisive moment. They believed in empathy, capturing the noble, romantic dignity of the human spirit, and documenting grand, heroic struggles.
Right.
And then, here comes Martin Parr. His version of a decisive moment is a seagull stealing a greasy chip out of someone's hand while they stand next to a trash can. The Magnum establishment was horrified. They thought he was an arrogant snob who despised the working class.
And, it's a very common initial reaction when you look at the garish flash and the unflattering angles. It's easy to assume he's punching down.
I mean, I have to admit, I initially felt the exact same way looking at these photos. Doesn't this just feel like a privileged guy laughing at regular people on their depressing vacations?
I totally get that, but if we dig deeper into the analysis, that assumption completely misses the true target of Parr's critique. He is not mocking the people in his photographs.
Which is a crucial distinction to make. It's so tempting to look at the family with the chips and think he's exposing them as foolish or vulgar.
He is exposing them, but he is doing so to mock the cultural machine that traps them. Parr's anger, his biting irony, isn't directed at the family on the concrete bench or the woman trying to sleep next to the excavator.
No.
No, it is directed at the systemic, global machinery of consumerism that sells them this depressing plastic reality and has the audacity to call it paradise. He is attacking the fact that society has reduced human leisure to a transactional assembly line.
So the people in the photos are the victims of the joke, not the butt of the joke. They are the evidence of the crime, not the criminals who perpetrated it.
Precisely. They are navigating a broken system the best way they know how. And which brings us to the ultimate irony of this whole controversy.
Oh, what's that?
The old guard of Magnum tried desperately to ban Parr for being too cynical, too harsh, and too anti-humanist. Yet decades later, Martin Parr actually became the president of Magnum Photos.
Wait, really?
Yep.
That is the ultimate irony. The establishment that tried to lock him out eventually had to hand him the keys.
Because eventually, the photography world realized that Parr wasn't just a cynic, he was a visionary. He wasn't just documenting the cultural decay and consumer bloat of the 1980s and 90s. He was holding up a mirror to a future we hadn't even reached yet.
Oh, man. When you look at the Pisa photos of everyone doing the exact same pose for a receipt, or the intense, decapitated close-ups of food in Common Sense, he was predicting social media.
Exactly.
He was predicting the performative, repetitive, photo-obsessed, camera-eats-first culture of Instagram and TikTok.
Decades before the smartphone was even invented, he saw exactly where we were heading.
He saw that we were going to turn our entire lives into a series of curated, branded moments. That we would start viewing our own experiences through a harsh, artificial lens. He just caught us rehearsing for it on the concrete beaches of the 80s and 90s.
Which is why his work is perhaps more relevant and cutting today than it was when he first shot it. The anxiety, the claustrophobia, the desperate performance of leisure. We don't just experience it on vacation anymore. We carry it in our pockets everywhere we go.
Looking at a Martin Parr photo really is like looking into a very uncomfortable mirror. You laugh at first because it seems absurd, and then a few seconds later, the laughter dies in your throat because you realize the joke is completely on you.
Yeah, it is the deep discomfort of recognizing your own reflection in a crowd of strangers performing a script.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Martin Parr's visual universe, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. Something to carry with you out into the real world. Think back to that picture-perfect holiday brochure we imagined at the very beginning. The next time you finally go on that hard-earned vacation, the next time you sit down at a beautiful restaurant and you automatically raise your phone to take a picture of your perfectly plated meal before you even taste it.
Or the next time you line up to strike that identical mandatory pose in front of a famous monument.
Just pass.
Just for 1 second, hold the frame.
Ask yourself, are you genuinely capturing a unique, authentic memory? Or are you just flawlessly acting out a script that was handed to you by consumer culture?
Yeah.
And while you're standing there perfectly holding that pose, who exactly is holding the invisible camera watching you?